Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's Metaworld news. This is our highlights for the week ending 25th of June 2017. And the news all concerns virtual reality technology, but mostly social virtual worlds, and particularly the OpenSim and the hypergrid. Right, I'm Mal Burns. We'll be joined a bit later, also by James Outloud. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/malbones, and we also have another Twitter account, which is twitter.com/metaworldnews. Believe it or not, there's a third account, which is twitter.com/malbones_writer, which features a lot of machinima film and news from the Second Life platform, but that's not our primary concern here. Most of the items I'm about to read out to you as highlights do actually appear on that feed, so if I don't have a direct link to tell you, you can go to that feed to follow through, as it were. Okay, well, starting 7 days ago, this may have been the last story on last week's news, but uploadvr.com have published an article, as I say, 7 days ago, the 5 biggest virtual reality stories of E3 2017. I think E3 is an entertainment technology show, hence the E. But if you keep up on that stuff, a good place to check out what's new. Right, 6 days ago, a post from a site called Engadget, that's Engadget, platform called Varjo, VRJO, promises a VR headset with human eye resolution. This is a totally new headset. Apparently it uses its own patented technology to replicate how the human eye works naturally and creates super high resolution images to do it. Let me see, it's codenamed 2020. Apparently it has a display with 70 megapixels, 70 megapixels versus 1.2 megapixels per eye that's in the Oculus and HTC Vive. So that is a heck of a lot more pixels. Anyway, you can read more about that at Engadget, and I do recall there are a couple of other posts I put up to following up on that story as well. Right, a site called psychologyofgames.com. That's all one word, psychologyofgames.com. They number 28 of their podcast came out about 5 days ago, and the topic is how we see our in-game avatars. And I put that up mainly because although it is a game podcast, that particular podcast obviously applies to virtual worlds and all virtual environments, because it's about the way we view and use our avatar personalities. Okay, vrscout.com, that's all one word again, vrscout. Have an article, dive into Dali's art like never before in this virtual reality museum. I'm very keen on this kind of thing. We don't cover too much of the hardware tech side of virtual reality here. This is simply a 360 kind of environment where you can explore and move around in Salvador Dali's art. And I'm a bit of a fan of the Surrealists, so had to get that. Oops, sorry. Bells going off here. So I had to get that in, didn't I? Best hardware of E3. This is another post at uploadvr.com a couple of 5 days ago. Not the biggest stories from E3, but the best hardware they saw on display there. The 5 ways in which virtual reality is improving healthcare. This is an article at the site called theconversation.com. Again, it's all one word, theconversation.com. Overview article there, of course. So skipping forward a little bit, and actually we're coming way up to date here already, 3 days ago. VR tools that are helping to build the real world. This is all about the intersection of VR technologies and real world technology. And it's an editorial article by Alice Bonacio, writing at medium.com. Lots of fully fledged articles to be read at Medium, and that was called VR Tools Helping Build the Real World. And if you're looking it up, well, you can either follow my link or you can go to Medium and check back about 3 days. Right, a new 3D display takes the eye fatigue out of virtual reality. Right, this is an article at phys.org, that's phys.org. And I'm just going to quickly open this feed because the headline doesn't really tell me a great deal about which the screen is. Okay, it's right. Oh, I'm hearing a sound in the background. Right. It's basically about OLED technology and a special way they can create 3D with multiple layers on a lens. Right, the Week in VR review. Again, this is hardware orientated. It's a podcast, and but you can also read all the summary from it. It's hosted by Malia Probst, and you can find the summary at vrscout.com. vrscout.com again. Virtuality-news.net has a report from IVRPA, which was a convention in Vienna earlier this month, and it's reporting on the 5 key lessons from the various events and workshops and various other things there. Over 200 360 and VR content creators across the globe were attending that. Right, forward again. Now, many of you will know that we refer, both on this show and elsewhere, constantly to something called the Metaverse. And for those of you who don't read science fiction, the original name of the Metaverse was coined by an author called Neil Stephenson in a 1992 novel, in fact, called Snow Crash. Now, Neil Stephenson writes a lot of novels and stuff, and just because he invented the terminology doesn't mean he's been particularly visible as some of the stuff that he maybe inspired has actually borne fruition. But he did pop up in the week, and I think this has been reprinted a couple of times elsewhere. But my link goes to Vanity Fair, who have surprisingly good articles on things like tech when they feel so inclined. And basically, they're talking to Neil Stephenson, the author himself, in their section called The Hive. And he's talking about the differences between augmented and virtual reality, how to create a convincing metaverse, and why social media as it's evolved is driving us insane. So he's got a lot to talk about. So it's a very interesting interview from a science fiction writer who seems to know what he's talking about. But more importantly, I mean, we've got to give him credit for that name, haven't we? Yeah, we use it here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, so
okay.
True.
So that's the article and interview with Joanna Robertson in The Hive in the Vanity Fair website, maybe in the magazine too. Right, Hollow. That's HOLO. Hollow introduces holograms of real people to your pictures and videos. This is another post at uploadvr.com, and this is talking about everything from partnerships with L'Oreal to working with astronaut Buzz Aldrin and colonizing Mars and everything else. Basically, this new app, which is called Hollow, allows you to take pictures and record video in what they're referring to as 3D holograms. This is a bit more than a photo panorama or a 360 video. It sounds to be a system by which you can add things, stitch them together, and then have them kind of interpolated into a kind of holographic space. They don't seem to mention the idea of a hologram in a room, though when you think of HoloLens and stuff, it might be compatible. But the point they're making is that the result is not just static augmented reality overlays. They cite Spider-Man of all people, for example, that can flip, facepalm, and pose for a selfie with you. So go figure. Anyway, this is a new outcoming board called Hollow, and if you want to know more about it, follow the links at uploadvr.com. Coming pretty close up to date now, Digital Trends magazine online. To advance virtual reality, YouTube is cutting 360 in half for 180-degree 3D content. Now, I posted this because actually it makes perfect sense. I have often said, although I get tired of putting a phone in a Google Cardboard, and after about 3 minutes, I can't wait to get the thing off my head. There is also a problem if you are, prone to sitting down and just want the sort of look around experience. You can't stand up and stretch your neck all the way around. Also, rather, you do have to stand up to do that and possibly get dizzy in the process. And YouTube have actually worked out a new VR file format for VR video, which actually only encompasses 180 degrees. And I imagine this will be a much more optimal kind of VR experience for somebody who was maybe willing to put something on their head while sitting down and wanted to look left and right with it, but not actually stand up and do the whole whiz around. And I suspect that would be a lot more agreeable to some people, especially people who aren't wearing high-end helmets, really, just taking a peek by their mobile phone and a headset or something. So quite interesting that. It's Google, of course, but I imagine that idea might well take off, and I think there are some fairly great economies to be made in 180-degree video rather than 360, not just in terms of half the size but the way it displays. So moving on. Now, the VRScout.com reported this. It was yesterday, in fact. Very sad news indeed. I'll let you really follow the link. But basically, an artist in Russia has been arrested for refusing to take off her VR headset. The crime, refusing to take off her headset. She was arrested and taken to a psychiatric clinic. The rather killer issue here is that, according to Euronews, this activist artist, Nenasheva, was wearing a VR headset as part of her project called Between Here and There, wherein she walks around Moscow taking panoramic photos of the daily life of, would you believe, psychiatric patients in clinics and schools. So not only did they make her take off her helmet and stop filming, they decided to put her in one too, which I think is rather horrifying, but maybe that's just Russia.
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds amusing the way I said it, doesn't it? But
it's frightening. Yeah.
Frightening indeed. Okay, so sad news there for her. Hopefully they will allow her out, if not back into her helmet before long. Right. Another interesting thing this week, there was a lot of commentary which I initially didn't really bother with because it was just another anecdotal thing of a group of CEOs in Australia's tech country. Actually, they're called technically incorrect. No, sorry, they're not. They're called CEO Sleep Out. And it was a charity event that got a lot of PR. The idea was that these CEOs of these big companies were going to experience homelessness for a night. And they were, it's happened here in the UK too, well-meaning celebrities and things have actually donned a sleeping bag and gone out and talked to homeless for a night and slept with them. But it turned out that this one in Australia was all done in VR. All the CEOs were convening in a nice comfortable seats in a club somewhere, wearing VR helmets and experiencing homelessness through a VR helmet. And CNET did a post yesterday where the headline is "Tweeters riled by CEOs, inverted commas, experiencing homeless via VR." Apparently not most people are not actually very impressed by these CEOs who all they did was go to a room and sit together with a headset on. The impression was they're actually going to go down and get dirty for real, and they didn't. So maybe some uses of VR are best left alone. Is the moral there anyway. Of course, everything's a bit upside down because it's Australia, isn't it? Sorry. Right.
Very funny.
Yeah, uploadvr.com again. About an hour ago, these two came in. E3 again, 2017. This is a report hands-on with a VR hand controller called Capto Glove. I don't publish every new VR contraption that comes out, headsets and everything else, but I do mention the ones that seem to be a little bit different. These gloves appear to be a bit more less than the run-of-the-mill ones, so to speak, just as the helmets I mentioned earlier, and the lenses are something new. And also, talking about holograms, Business Insider, again, this I picked this up about an hour ago. These hologram-like projections are so good they'll make you question reality. I had actually noticed in some of the other things that, I want a career in VR. Will you be the first to open a VR arcade in your hometown? It was suggesting that if people, want to do startups, there's nothing better at the moment than opening a VR arcade locally, because there aren't many local ones yet, and that is probably quite a good thing. But this is a sort of similar thing. It's not actually an arcade where you put a headset on and fully immerse yourself as such. Apparently it's a sort of hologram type technology that also uses video and merges them together. So you have kind of a room with interactive video on the floor, the ceiling and all the walls. And you have hologram like components with you inside the room. But the whole technology for generating it and behind it is a totally different approach from the headset-driven idea. So you might like to read about that at Business Insider. And that's it for what I call the mainstreamy sort of news. Flashing forward to my posts here, which will be largely Google+. Not much really. Chickion had a video up that I posted this morning, which is a video explanation of how LODs work, LOD being level of detail, and a couple of incidental machinimas from the week that are filmed in OpenSim. And I'll just check Metaworld News here too. And that is pretty much the same thing. There was a post from David Karuki on OpenSim records gaining in land area and active users, etc. But I think I mentioned that last week. Now, for those of you watching live, do hang around, because on the hour we'll be coming back to you this week with Inworld Review. One of the guests we have with us is Ferd Fredericks, who took over Hyperica and various parts of what Maria Korolev used to be doing with us here. And he does actually promise that, as well as the questions I want to ask him, he will actually have some statistics for us. So in the absence of Maria, we will have Ferd with the stats report. Anyway, so that will be coming up on the hour. So we will be getting a bit of an update on some very interesting things there. as well as having a general chat. Now, lastly, of course, no news will be complete without going over to James to hear what the developers have been up to, because if they weren't up to anything, nothing will be happening, and there will be no news. Well, there might be, but you get the idea.
Well, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, something like that.
That's right. In this particular location. I was able to attend the developers meeting, and again, let me clarify, this is office hours that users and developers can get together and raise questions and try and solve issues with Open Simulator, the open source virtual world that we are in right now. And this again was a good meeting, well attended, a good mix of developers and people interested in maintaining grids. A little quick announcement is that Selby Evans announced to the developers that they could have a working group with the IMA, the Infinite Metaverse Alliance, and so people were asking where's the information posted. So there may be some interest developing around that. Still with the IMA, there's support for testing. A lot of things need to be tested with Open Simulator, which is related to another point of discussion, was a kind of a sentiment that people feeling version 9 really does need to be released. There are some things that this is version 0.9 of Open Simulator, and so there was discussion about what needs to happen to that end. And there's going to be a check-in with the developers in the internet relay chat, and see, just to check in again what needs to be done to get us out to releasing version 0.9. And so I think a lot of people are looking for that as a significant milestone in in moving the software forward and keeping it active. Again, other specific, again, there was some good work that was being done. One interesting discussion about when a person selects a lot of primitives and applies textures, they don't always stick, was the term used. And so there was some good troubleshooting around that issue, and a lot of creative minds coming together in one place. It's a very satisfying meeting. And that's about it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I was also at an IMA meeting, the regular sort of Friday. Actually, I was at 2 this week.
Yeah.
The Friday one was just a regular Q&A.
Yeah.
It's all very interesting. I don't think there's anything I can particularly think of to report for news. Lots of working groups being established. A lot of people apparently getting involved with the IMA too. So in various ways, simply because they can jump into working groups and specialist areas, as well as in more general areas. If you'd like to know more about the IMA, the website to go to is http://infiniteMetaverse.com. So it's all one word, infiniteMetaverse.com. I've got the site open in front of me because I was just checking there wasn't anything new to talk about while I was there. But that's where you want to go. It's an email from Lisa Lanston, who seems to be generally in charge of communications for them at the moment. So I think that's it. Now, this isn't strictly news, of course, but last night, it was about midnight my time, so I only popped in for the very beginning. There was a creators' ball being held in the space virtual world, which is Sinewave's operation. A lot of familiar faces from OpenSim were there because creators and stuff are all buzzing around there. They of course have to work offline in Unity to upload into space, but the nightclub that had been built to hold this party was something to be seen. I've never quite seen anything like it in Second Life or OpenSim, partly because of the lighting and the textures and the sort of stuff that the advanced game engines like Unity do actually allow you to do, and Sinewave can support, which are a wee bit of a step up from something like the studio here. There are a limited number of things I can do with the materials on this floor, for example, to make you really feel them. And I must say, getting to that party, it was astonishing. And the thing I love most was an automated live camera system. The set they have at the Drax Files does actually include a camera HUD, a bit like we use here. But this event last night, the DJ was also controlling a panoramic screen, which was like taking up 120 degrees of the circular venue. And the screen itself was a video that was showing in a loop. And it was obviously scripted, but the video that was showing, even though it was in a loop sequence, was fully live. In other words, it showed you the real people on the dance floor and on the stage, and then moving in real time. So it was like a real-time video run by a kind of script behind into a wall of the building we're in. And it had a bit of that magic of like the first time you ever went to a rock festival and somebody had invented giant screens to go at the side of the stage, so you can see what's going on from the distance. So I took one look at this venue and I thought, oh yes, I like this. Yeah. So a kind of landmark event because of the venue. So maybe it is news, but I thought I'd slip that in there. And we may be talking a lot more about interactivity and interop and stuff like that on Inworld Review in a while. Anyway, this news has taken on nearly half an hour this week, so I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you to James Outloud here, who also does our camera work, by the way, so thank you, James, for developer news. And that's it for this week. We will be, of course, back same time, same place next week with more of the week's roundup from whatever happens in the week coming, as they say. So we're off for now. Bye-bye.